Hi, I'm here today to tell you about touring Europe in a punk band for my first time and tell you some of the experiences that I had. Some good, some bad. There were a lot of obstacles to overcome mentally and physically, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about those experiences. I feel like I should start off with explaining what a squat is. I think some of you might know what a squat is, but maybe not. So, a squat is an abandoned building that a group of individuals take over. Now, the cool thing is, in Germany, the government would usually give these individuals the building, like let them take ownership of it, if they agreed to fix it up. And there was one stipulation that they had to give back to the community. So they would have maybe a daycare or an arts center, a cafe, a youth center. And it was actually, I thought it was really cool because if you go to Newark, there's tons of abandoned buildings and they're just sitting there. So why not let the unhoused take them over and do the same thing? I thought it was pretty cool. So, um, the crazy thing about it was I was there in '99 and it was 10 years after Germany was reunited with each other because it was split up after World War II and half of Germany went to Russia and the other half went to Germany. So, the conditions of some of these places, a lot of them were nice for the most part, at least in Western Germany and most of Western Europe. They were really nice, and we played in Germany, Italy, Belgium, Holland, and the United Kingdom. So for us, being four guys from Philadelphia, we didn't know Dutch, we didn't know German, we didn't know Italian. So it was pretty hard for us to navigate. But a lot of the Eastern European squats were actually insane. Uh, if you picture Mad Max or Escape from New York, it is very post apocalyptic. I played in places that were blown up in World War II where half the building was missing. So I just wanted to explain a couple of these to you. So I played in Dresden, Germany on February 13th, 1999. There was still rubble all over the city. It appeared like the war had just happened 2 years ago and not 50. So it was very eyebrow raising to say the least. And the beautiful architecture and stuff. And they are trying to rebuild it, which I'm pretty sure it looks a lot better than it probably did back then. So that night, before we went on, we were walking around the city, and our driver was showing us around, and we ran into these gentlemen that I thought were military. Turns out they weren't. So they heard our American accents, and then they started following us. And we started to get a little like, we should probably get out of here. And meanwhile, most of these guys were kind of built like The Rock. A lot of German people are really big, like 6'3", 6'5", 250 pounds, but not fat, just in great shape. I'm 5'9", and back then probably weighed 145 pounds, so there was nothing I could do. And so as we're walking around the city and these guys are following us, we're trying to get back to the car pretty quick. And our driver tells us that this is the anniversary of the Allies bombing this city. So that made us even more nervous. And then, right about by the time we got back to our car, these police stopped us and they wanted to see our papers. And we showed them our passports and stuff. And they told us to get out of there. That there was a big protest with neo Nazis protesting the bombing. And so it came to our attention that these guys were trying to hunt us down because we were American. So it was a bit scary. Um, so now I'm going to go on and talk about Kopi in Berlin. It was a building, if you picture a rectangle with a courtyard in the middle, that's what this building looked like in its heyday. Now, when we played it, it was blown completely in half. So instead of looking like a rectangle, it kind of looked like half of a U. And there was all kind of debris and stuff stuffed in, basically where there was a wall and now it's gone and there's just a big hole there. And there was like stuffed animals stuck in it. It was wild. So we played this place and oh, I should mention that we had to play 2.5 hours every night, which in itself was a lot. If you know anything about punk songs, they're usually 2 minutes long. So to play 2.5 hours, we would just play our set 2 or 3 times back to back. And I mean, it was great exercise, but it was quite exhausting to do this night after night. And I think maybe the whole tour we had 2 days off. And I was there from February until the middle of March. So it was a long time. And one of the guys at Kopi had told us that Hitler used to do speeches there in the 30s. And it's like, okay, yeah. But it was a filthy place. We actually did not stay there that night. Turns out a friend of ours was going to school in Berlin, so we got to stay at her house, which was actually pretty nice. Now, I should tell you about the last story. I said before that none of us spoke any German or anything. At one point, our driver had to be switched out, and we got a German guy he didn't know any English except for fuck off. That was it. He didn't know anything. So, we stop at a rest stop, to use the restroom and stuff like that, which I should also add, a lot of these squats didn't have running water. So I only got to shower about once a week, which was pretty gross after playing 2.5 hours every night, drenched in sweat. I would usually we'd have to brush our teeth and all that in rest stops. So we had to do that. So here we are at this rest stop, and these cops come over to us with Uzis. They're talking to our driver, and so they start whisking us away into the public restroom at this rest stop, and they take us one by one, and they strip search us. They made us get totally nude in this rest stop, and if you imagine like being on the turnpike or the bathrooms at school, if the door opens, you can see in the restroom. So there we are standing there nude while families are walking by just gawking at us and stuff. It was pretty humiliating if you ask me. Not one of my finest times, you know. Um so they strip searched all of us. They made us take everything out of the van. Everything. They went through all our luggage. They looked through our guitar cases. It was horrible. We were there probably 2 hours. It was a bit scary because I didn't know any German at all. And, these cops are talking, our driver's talking, but we don't know what's going on. So when we get to the gig that night, somebody informs us that our driver was caught with cocaine. That's what led to this whole ordeal playing out the way it did. So we were pretty mad at this guy by this point because, he gave us a horrible day and it was not fun. So, yeah, and touring Europe the first time, it was a lot for me mentally. I think I actually had a breakdown at the end of it because it was just too much. We had to stay in all these crazy places. It was the middle of winter. It snowed every day. I think I saw the sun one day the whole time I was in Germany, and I was in Germany for 6 weeks, just 6 weeks, playing all over Germany. And Germany's not even that big, so you know. So really, what happened that made I learned a lot about myself. I learned that you can get through things, and it's taught me a lot about life in general when things get hard. That you can totally make it, you can get through it. You just have to relax and know that things will always get better. And so that's my advice to you. And just for final thought, I just wanted to show you. So here's the tour dates from that tour, and this is my diary that I kept on that tour. I still have them. Uh, I think about sometimes writing a book, but I have them. So that's it. And thank you so much for your time. Take care.